good at one thing, whether it's heading a ball, whether it's hitting the ball over distance, whether it's dribbling, whether it's crossing, finishing. You know, there's so many actions in a game. There's thousands of actions in the soccer game. And I think nowadays players that can stand out by being able to do one thing really, of course you have to be good at several things, but if you could stand out and be better than the rest, at least at one thing, then I think you have a good chance of putting yourself, you know, in a good situation. It's a long one because, you know, nowadays you really need to get out there and see these players perform several times, because you can't just go out and see a player play once and they may have been at their best. You want to go and see them play several times so you can see them at their best and you can see them at their worst. And so the process is, you know, you go and see them play. You see them, whether it's a showcase, you see them in high school, you see them with their club teams, and you go and identify who you think in the years to come is going to develop into a good player that can come in and help your program. It's a bit of an unknown when we start the process which class at that next fall year is going to be a 7-man class or a 10-man class. It all depends on what transpires throughout the previous season. We're fortunate where there's a lot of athletes and a lot of young men that want to come to UCLA and have UCLA as one of their top picks, and they wait until ultimately sometimes they find out that it's no longer a place they can come to, and it's difficult. You know, I mean, it's one of those things that I'm not naive to the fact that that a lot of students want to come here and a lot of players want to come and play here, and unfortunately it's just the nature of the business, where oftentimes we are recruiting more than the amount of players that we need, and I try and make those guys understand that if, you know, there are potentially 3-4 players that may not make it into our final recruiting class, give them a heads up that we may go down that route. It's very intense because we do have a lot of the top players, and so there's daily competition. We get, you know, some of the top players from all around the country that come here, and they all expect to come here and be given an opportunity right away. But I tell them it's like anything in life, that when they leave the environment they're in, they come here, they start over again. Whether they're low man on the totem pole the first day they're here, they have to find a way to make themselves, you know, one of the important players and important parts of our program. So the competition is something that, you know, I think oftentimes employers and companies, they like student athletes that are in environments like this, because really the daily competition makes you realize you have to be at your best all the time. So the intensity of our program is high, the competition we play against, I think every year I try and put together a schedule that makes it very competitive every game, week in and week out, and we don't schedule any games that are, you know, so-called scheduled wins. You know, we want to go out there and compete against the top teams on a weekly basis. I mean, academics, you know, and athletics, they go hand in hand. You know, you can't have one without the other. So you can't be a great soccer player and not have the academics, you know, from the SATs to the grades that you get in the classes that you take. All that's important, because people have this misunderstanding that, you know, if you're a great soccer player, no matter what, you can go to really any school. But, you know, the standards nowadays keep being increased here at UCLA. There was the most applicants out of any UC system this past fall, and so it's a desired place and a place that people want to be in. So our levels from grades to your scores are high standards, and so not anyone can just come and be a great soccer player and not have the grades to get into school. We're one of the top programs in the country as far as men's soccer. We have produced a lot of top players, have brought in very highly rated recruiting classes. We have produced players that have not only gone on to play professionally here in the United States, but also in Europe. First and foremost, you look for someone that's going to fit into your program. It's them overall, what they bring as a young man, as a student in high school. How do you think that's going to translate to them coming here to our campus, to UCLA, to becoming a student athlete? There's so many variables that are involved in deciding whom you choose as potential recruits. Those variables include, their work ethic. They include, obviously, how they perform on the field. But more importantly, how you think they're going to come here and adjust to the new lifestyle. The fact that here in college you have a lot of free time. Time management is such a big deal. And so all those variables really factor into who you go out and recruit. In 2004 and 2006, the recruiting class we brought in, obviously there were very good soccer players, but also there were guys that were very motivated to come here and learn, to become better soccer players than they were at the time. If you look at, in those two classes, the amount of success that they've had individually, the amount of success that they've helped us have as a program, it's no secret that, the way we went out and recruited and got those guys to come here was very successful. I think the criteria is just being a good soccer player, and soccer is one of those sports that you don't have to be a certain size to play the game, and you can utilize your instincts, you can utilize your experience, your vision of the game. The technical part of the game is very important. So there's so many aspects of soccer that I think are unique to sport in general, that size really doesn't matter. Athleticism in the college game is important. The better the athlete, sometimes the more success, but that doesn't always translate to having a successful player.